Hi. I want to share something with you that truly changed my life. And I'm not being dramatic or hyperbolic or facetious. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic. It's a little dramatic, but it really did. It really did change my life and the way that I approach marketing. I'm a data nerd, y'all. I'm not like, the Don Draper glass of scotch, like, oh, I wonder what people are going to think about tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like that whole, the psychology of marketing, I can't say it eludes me because if I put my mind to it, I think I can get pretty good at it, but it's not the way that I think by default, right? I'm a numbers guy. And so the reason that that's relevant is because you have fractions of a second to capture people's attention, just the smallest microcosms of time in order to really hook people. And in order to do that, you have to have good messaging, and you can't just have it when you think it's important. You need to have it all the time, all the time. We practice like we play. And so your email signature, your LinkedIn profile, your ads, your landing pages, your web copy, the email nurtures that you're sending out, you need to be able to articulate who you are, what you do, who you do it for, what your value is, all of that good stuff. And you have to do it in zero time, And when I was taught this, how to do this, it blew my mind. First of all, how simple it was. And second of all, how impactful it was. And those are my favorite things in business, is when you find that leverage point, when you find the lever where you're like, man, that took like no work and it's been, impactful beyond my ability to quantify. That's what I'm about to teach you right now. But here's the key. You have to do the work. These videos are only worth watching if you do the work. So don't just watch this and think like, oh yeah, that long-haired, funny-looking brown guy, he was right. Or I don't like that guy at all. I don't know why I keep watching his videos. Instead, like, walk through the practice. You know what I mean? Put pen to page here a little bit and follow through with this. So the beginning of that exercise, if you're going to do the work with me, first is let's put ourselves in the sandbox briefly. Let's say that I met you on an elevator or at the pub or at a conference or wherever, and I asked, hey, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do for a living? Right? That's maybe like the most common question you can get asked, by the way. What do you do? What's your answer? Say it out loud. What do you do? What's interesting about your answer, assuming that you answered, and you should have, everybody's answer is crap. They're all meaningless. What do you do? Oh, I own a digital marketing agency, right? Like, oh, I'm in finance. Oh, I'm a doctor. Like, none of that means anything. You told me nothing. You just told me like, oh, this is how you could potentially bore me. This is the topic that I might use to bore you. Digital marketing. Like if I say I own a digital marketing agency, which by the way is what I used to say. Oh, I own a digital marketing agency. What is that like? Is that SEO? Is that PPC? Do you work with big businesses or small businesses? Like what do you do? What do you really do? We're not getting to the root of anything. And what's funny about that is you think, well, like, no, that's just when I introduce myself to people. But like when a customer approaches, I don't do that. You are wrong. You are wrong. And I can tell you that because I get so many leads and so many prospects and I see so many websites, and it's always like this weird corporate speak of like kind of really fun amalgamations of $30 words that mean nothing. And then like weird opaque images that also mean nothing. Like, I'm a business consultant. What does that mean? You haven't told me anything. So here's what I want to get in. I promise you, if you do this, if you walk through this practice, it will change your life. We're going to build a statement of value. I'm going to help you answer this question. And when we answer it, this is the way that you respond to people directly. This is what you put on your website. This is what goes out in your emails. And it's not always going to be constructed in this exact way, but you're going to be able to pull pieces from it as is necessary. And what's really cool about the statement of value is it forces you to make decisions that you should be making already, that you should have already made. We're going to build our statement of value now. And again, do the work. Don't watch the video just to watch the video. Do the work. I hope you don't mind me being that aggressive, by the way. I'm trying to help. I'm a little nervous now. So the very first thing is I help who? Now, this is really important because when somebody asks you, what do? You generally respond with an I statement. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they're expecting. But what we're about to do is we're about to flip it. Instead of you talking about you, you're now going to talk about the people that you serve. And there's a brilliant level of psychological trickery here. And I can call this brilliant, by the way, because this isn't mine. I was taught this. There's a brilliant level of psychological trickery because you are establishing yourself as a thought leader and an authority. The minute you say like, oh, whatever it is, there's a level of skepticism embedded in every single human being that says, well, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. We'll see. But if you say, I help whoever it is, now it's like, oh my. Because the person that serves, that embedded inherent layer of humility qualifies you. It's a pre-qualification. So when you say I help and then define the who, you're actually rising above the posturing that most people do when they try to pretend that they're, or maybe insist that they're something, regardless of whether or not it's true. You're hurdling that initial psychological objection that people have. So first of all, I help, and now you're focusing on the people that you help. The second thing this is doing is it's forcing us to pick a who. You have to pick a who. And by the way, the more niche down your who is, the more money you'll make. I swear to God. The more niche down your who is, my agency is called Solutions 8 because I'm an idiot, and we used to have 8 core service offerings. We used to web development and PPC and SEO and content marketing and videography. By the way, I had a videographer and an editor on staff full-time and a green screen studio. I had 8 service offerings, and I was convinced that I could be good at all of them. It was like having 8 separate businesses. It was horrible. It was so hard. And every time I would knock off a service, I'd make more money until we just got down to Google Ads. And all of a sudden it was like, well, this is what I've been good at the whole time anyway. And like we shot up. It was rocket fuel. When you can narrow down your who, when you can niche down, you put yourself in a position to target in a way that can't be contended with. Because if you need a Google Ads help and you're interviewing 20 different 20 different agencies, and they're all the Me Too agencies like I used to be, and I'm the Google Ads guy, who are you going to pick? Who are you going to pick? Right? So it allows you to target in a way that you've never been able to target before. It also allows you to offer a service that's of unparalleled quality. I own another agency. I'm a partner in another agency that services Montessori schools. And we help Montessori schools with their digital marketing. And what's interesting about that is we have website templates built just for Montessori schools, content built just for Montessori schools, Google Ads and Facebook campaigns built just for Montessori schools. And no other agency on the planet could compete with us because we provide so much value for so little money, because we've been able to build out this ultra-specific structure for this ultra-defined niche. It's a very profitable approach. You have to define your who. And the more specific your who is, the better you're going to be. Don't say, I help businesses. There's no such thing. That's so opaque. It's not even worth mentioning. I mean, and you might say, well, I help small and medium-sized businesses. That's all the businesses. Like the enterprise businesses are beating down your door. You know what I mean? Like if AT&T showed up and said, will you take my money? And say, no, I only help small and medium-sized businesses. Like that's define your who. Get as specific as you possibly can. And it's going to be scary, by the way, because we all have the fear of missing out. I promise you, I went through this exact same thing. It took me years. I'm not preaching at you. I'm apologizing for my past sins and begging you not to make the same mistakes. It took me years to niche down. And then the minute I did, it was just boom. It was amazing. I have a friend who's also a mentor of mine. His name's Pedro Adeo. He's the world foremost authority on challenges. This is a smart guy, y'all. He mints money. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He's taught a lot of people a lot of really cool things. And what I've heard Pedro say often is, when you find your people, you find your purpose. That's a write or downer right there. When you find your people, you find your purpose. And I have found that to be the case. And when you define your who, if you don't instantly go, those are my people. Those are my people and I found my purpose, then your who isn't niched down far enough. Now, maybe you're not ready to niche all the way down today. That's okay. But I just want to plant the seed in your mind that it's time to narrow. It's time to go niche. Pedro, by the way, started his career as a financial advisor serving single female nurses over 40 or something like that. It might be like there might be a nuanced change, but it was that specific. He was a financial advisor serving single female nurses over 40. Like, talk about, and you think of that and be like, what, all 4 of them? But it was a whole business for him. He built an entire 7 into 8 figure business on that niche. And he did it because he loved them. He loved working with them. They were great prospects for him. And he really enjoyed serving them. And he felt that he could bring them more value than other people could bring him. What's your niche? Who's your who? Once you've defined your who, then we move into the what. And here's what's really interesting is this gives you the opportunity to be specific about what it is that you're providing. So now you can't just say, I'm a business consultant. Now we're saying with exit planning, with financial forecasting, with hiring, with standard operating procedures, with systems, with whatever. But what you have done is, because we've defined our who so specifically, you now get to put a what that connects to the who's needs. Because I happen to know that Montessori schools need admissions help. So my what here is I help Montessori schools increase admissions. And people are like, oh my goodness, that makes perfect sense. I'm a Montessori school, I need that. Or I'm not, and I don't. That's perfectly fine. You're pre-qualifying right out of the gate because it gives you the opportunity to attract and repel. There's nothing worse than having an unproductive conversation. So somebody goes, oh yeah, I don't need that. That's good news. It's like, awesome, glad we got that out of the way. I help who with what? What is your specific offering? What is the thing that you're giving, and how does it relate back to that who? Once we have that, then we move into what I think is the most important piece. So that you are going to tell people the desired end result. This is how you're introducing yourself. What's the desired end result? And by the way, the desired end result is not like you don't go to a CPA because you want your taxes done. The desired end result is not the piece of paper that he hands you back that you then get to file. You actually don't want that. I hate filing my taxes every year. It's horrible. But I also want not to go to jail, right? I want to sleep at night. I want the peace of mind to know that this task is complete and I can get it off of my table. What is it that your prospect, your client, what is it that your who is actually paying for? There's the joke that nobody buys a drill, they buy a hole. What's your hole? What's your customer's hole? What is it that they're looking for to purchase from you from a desired end result perspective? And I'm going to give you my example. So here's my agency. And by the way, super simple. I help businesses running Google Ads. Could that be any more niche down, by the way? Are you running Google Ads? Yes or no? No, I'm not. Okay, cool. God bless you. I hope you are successful somewhere with whatever it is you are doing. And by the way, I don't want businesses that aren't running Google Ads. We'll take them. But what I tell every single one of them is we're going to go test this for 90 days. And we're going to see whether or not this works. This is a sandbox. I help businesses that are already running Google Ads. And then my what? Improve performance or decrease wasted spend. And I've got and there. It can be and or. Improve performance, decrease wasted spend. And I've done a couple of things here. I've obviously shared what it is that I'm helping them do, but I'm giving them the carrot and the stick. So, hey, here's the promise. If you ever thought that, hey, can my campaign do better? I'll show you. And incidentally, if you're ever worried that you're wasting spend, like we're playing on organic, real fear. It's not a scare tactic, but it's a fear that I know entrepreneurs actually have. So it's like, if you think you're wasting spend, I can help you with that. So now you're in an elevator with me. You're like, hey, Costin, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I help businesses running Google Ads improve performance and decrease wasted spend. And you're like, I'm a business running Google Ads and I think I have wasted spend. Or you're like, oh yeah, cool. That sounds boring. And now we're done. But my statement of value is out there so that they can increase profitability and scale their business. Nobody wants Google Ads. Nobody wants, nobody even cares about their actual ROAS number if you disassociate it from their profitability. Gross revenue in my mind is a vanity metric. So, your cost per lead or your conversion rate, nobody cares. They want to make more money and they want their business to grow. I help businesses running Google Ads improve performance and decrease wasted spend so they can increase profitability and scale their business. Bam! Statement of value. Are you kidding me? Now, everywhere I go, anytime I need to articulate, and look how short and succinct, and yours might even get better than this. I help who with what so that desired end result. This is your statement of value. This is worth doing, y'all. And by the way, once you've walked through this process, the other thing that you need to do is put this in front of everybody on your team. Because guess what? And what would be a fun academic exercise if you had any interest in doing this is have everybody do this independent of each other and then come back with their statements of value. And guess what you're going to find? If you have 5 team members, you're going to find 5 very different statements of value. 5 completely different who's, different what's, different desired end results. And you're going to be like, do we work at the same company? Are we on the same page? And that's not uncommon, y'all. When I do consulting, when I go into a business and do one of my all-dayers, one of my favorite things to do is I take the executive team and I have them all fill out my avatar worksheet and I ask them, who is it that you're serving? And I come back with totally different answers almost every time. It's almost a ubiquitous truth. This is that same issue times 3. Right? Because instead of one area of analysis, there's 3. So get everybody together and get everybody centered on the statement of value. everybody on your team, all your employees, all your vendors, all your contractors, all your clients, everybody needs to know what your statement of value is, and then have this at the ready. This, and now you get to use it for everything. I mean, the next time you go sponsor the events and they want a little snippet about your company, boom, statement of value, done. This is the front line of defense. Before anybody's going to go read that 3,500 word history about my company, have the statement of value there at the very top. So they're like, oh yeah, this is perfect for me. Or, oh, I made it to the wrong website. My bad. Which is fine. You want to attract and repel. You want to filter people out quickly and immediately. I hope this was helpful. I'd love, I don't know if anybody's going to do this. I'd love if you drop your statement of value in the comments. I'll respond to it personally. If I have any improvement opportunities or critiques or whatever, I'm happy to provide that too. If you don't want them, just say, don't critique, please. I have soft skin. But drop your statement of value inside of the comments. I'd really like to maybe get a little bit of a collaboration going back and forth here. I think that'd be a lot of fun and of benefit to a lot of people, because my statement of value, maybe it doesn't really align or apply. And you might be in a business where you're like, oh no, you're able to help people with their brainstorming process. The one thing I'll say in closing is, even if you're in e-commerce, even if you sell a physical product, that doesn't mean that you don't need a statement of value, because the product that you sell isn't what they buy. Nobody buys a pen. They buy the ability to write. I buy the ability to articulate myself. It's the freedom of linguistic expression posited through my fingers or whatever. But you know what I mean? They don't buy the drill, they buy the hole. So if you're selling drills, go and build a statement of value around the hole. Nobody buys a car. Really think about this. Anybody who ever spent $100,000 on a car, right? Like those really nice Mercedes or whatever I don't know cars. I don't care about 80% of that stuff. They're not buying, the V12 twin turbo luxury leather, bleep, 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 bleep. Like, maybe 1% of them are like super crazy car nuts and they actually care. They're buying status, or they're buying a feeling. Like they're buying the feeling of accomplishment. They're buying the way other people look at them. They're buying the way that the opposite sex or the same sex responds. They're buying so much more than 4 doors and a steering wheel. And I think we all know that, as much as we might not want to admit it. So what is it that you're really selling? Articulate your statement of value. Have it at the ready. I hope this was helpful. I really appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.